Alright, so we are on Parham's account, master of the free-to-play, my buddy. Um, we're going to look at his roster because he's talking about building his clan boss team. And he has the makings of a budget unkillable. So that is going to be the focus of his clan boss build. For those of you who don't know, budget unkillable is a unkillable comp that you can use in UNM and NM if you're using the one that I suggest. Using these two champions as the primary build. So Maneater, who brings in the unkillable buff for 2 turns, and then we have a Painkeeper who brings in the decrease cooldown. So with specific speed tunes, you can actually, and a setup at the beginning of each fight, you can actually get them to UNM and NM very early in the game. You just need the speed requirements, which I don't have beside me because I'm not the best streamer in the world. The one that I recommend is the ultimate budget unkillable, because that one you don't have to constantly swap gear back and forth. The older one, you would have to swap different speeds. But basically the whole premise of the build is you have Maneater at 256 speed. You have Painkeeper at 223 speed. You have 2 DPS champions, one at 188, one at 180. And then you have a slow boy, which is basically a stun target. And the way that the fight works is Maneater will put Unkillable up for 2 turns. Then on the 3rd turn, so the way that all clan boss fights work is the first turn that the clan boss takes is an AoE attack. The second attack that the clan boss takes is an AoE attack. And for those 2 turns, you have Maneater using his Unkillable. And then the slow boy, or the stun target, is so slow that his Unkillable buff will remain while everybody else's falls off. And then when this clan boss stuns, he's stunning the stun target, who will still have the Unkillable buff on him. So you're essentially unkillable for all 3 turns in the rotation, which means that it can last for 50 turns, which allows you to build an unkillable team very early. So there's a couple different things that you have to keep in mind when building this comp. It's not the easiest comp to build. Like, for example, the way that it works is your slow boy, to become the stun target, has to be the highest HP champion on the team and has to have really low defense so that the clan boss wants to target him. So on Void, it's much easier to determine who the stun target is going to be based on that factor. You want Painkeeper to be the 2nd highest HP on the team because he heals. He heals? She heals? She heals. Oops. She heals based on her max HP. So if you have her at the 2nd highest HP, her heals are going to allow it so that the highest HP champion, aka the stun target, will be the one who has the overall most stun target ability logic. So there's a couple different ways that you can go about it, because the challenge on this team is when it's different affinities, because then the stun target changes. So the way that the clan boss will prioritize your stun target is first off of the opposite affinity. So if it's a force clan boss, it's going to target a magic champion. Right? So there's different ways that people play around with this. Number 1, you can just have alternating DPS that you switch out, so that you make it so that the stun boy is always going to be the targeted person. Other way of doing it is alternating your slow boys, so that whoever the slow boy is based on the affinity, you have a target there. So one target that a lot of people use, it's not the best target, is Bulwark. And the reason why people use Bulwark is because of the passive. When attacked, has a 30% chance of extending the duration of all debuffs on the attacker by 1 turn. Okay? He also has an HP burn. The problem with Bulwark as your stun target is the stun target has to be the highest HP, and his base HP is abysmal. But because the speed is so low, you actually can build him in, these 3 pieces can just be HP percentage. So because you can get HP percentage boots, HP percentage chest, and HP percentage gloves, it is still possible. So like I built one for somebody not long ago, and Bulwark is the stun target, and then we just swap either DPS or the slow boy, depending on the affinity, to make sure that the stun doesn't break. Now, your DPS, to me, you don't have that many choices. So Kael and Frozen Banshee are okay. Thylesia, actually, also really okay, because she also has a decreased defense, which is nice for everybody's turn, and then she has a increased duration of all debuffs on all allies. All enemies by 1 turn. So these 3 are probably your DPS. that you can rotate in and out. But it's not enough because on a Spirit Clan boss, they're going to attack Thalassia if she's in there. So if you put these two, then she should default to Bulwark. On Force, it's going to attack one of these two, so you're going to need a different DPS that are not one of these two. So again, it could attack Bulwark. On Magic, it would attack a Spirit Champion, which doesn't exist yet. So we're going to have to see who you're going to use as your swap-ins and your swap-outs. Unless you can just, guarantee that you're hitting Void every time. If you're hitting Void every time, then it's actually not that hard. We're going to look at the vault in a second, but I'm just curious. See, like, if you don't have people that are actually downing UNM and stuff, then you could be fine for a while. But then again, I would sooner recommend you get into a better clan. Lol. But I guess if there's like a clan with friends and stuff, then, who the hell am I to say that? So let's look at the vault and see. So it's not, like, I'm going to be straight up, it's not the easiest team in the world to build. It really isn't. There is annoyances. But it is definitely doable. Yaga, best clan boss champion in the game. Lol, kek. Just want to see if you have other stun targets. Chad, if you see something, yell out. Maybe I'm missing it. So I think your stun target for sure is going to be Bulwark to start. I think that's the logical way to do it. Didn't see anybody that jumped out at me, to be honest. So I would say if you can just do it, if you can do it on Void, that should be your focus. That's the easiest way to go about it. Somebody called out Corpulent Cadaver. How does he work? I know he's in like Infinity Gauntlet champion nonsense. Cheesecake. What's his kit? That's why he actually does damage. Okay, so that was a troll. Got it. So yeah, I would just try and build it based off of the Void for now, and then as things change, we can adjust and work forward. So it's 1, 2 as your obviously main 2, then Bulwark is your DPS. Is your stun target, and then your DPS are probably these two, probably Banshee and Thalassia. I don't know if Kael outdamages Banshee. I'm thinking with Thalassia, it might actually be better to have Banshee in there because you'll keep poison. Actually, I don't know. Can test them both out, I guess. The speed is reasonable. 188 and 180. But my instinct tells me these two is probably the DPS. And then Bulwark is your slow boy. It's a lot of extension. So yeah, that's the build, man. That's the strategy. I'll show you a couple things. So one thing that you're going to want to do for sure is use this. Hold on, please. I can link this in the chat or in the YouTube video that I make. Here's the chat. I'm going to link it in the YouTube video. So this is what we call a stun target calculator. Okay, so you file, make a copy. And then it doesn't work, and then the stream ends. Okay, so what you do is you literally, so ignore the speeds. The speeds, this is for a different build, but the logic will still apply for how you do this. So you basically put your DPS 1, let's say Thalassia. You put your DPS 2, let's say Frozen Banshee. And then your stun target, which is Bulwark. And what it does is you put in their information here. So let's say for argument's sake, you're putting in their HP. And you put in their defense. Okay, so based off the information that you put in, it changes. You see on the right how it's changing the information? So you just want to make it so that Bulwark becomes the stun target. Really, it's fine if you get stunned. Ideally, it's not Maneater or Painkeeper, because it might make it wonky. But based off the information that you put in, oops, 3400 ball. Right, based on the information that you put in, it will change who the stun target's going to be. So you want to figure out a build similar to this. This is definitely does not have to be the actual numbers. Like, I'm pretty sure you could do 2750 and it'll work. But these are kind of the rough numbers that I always use when I'm building a clan boss team of this nature. Because if you look, ultimate budget unkillable, it gives you the details here of how you have to build the team. Okay? So same stun targeting principles apply. HP of stun target should be the highest on the team, but not more than 125% of PK, Painkeeper's HP. Painkeeper should be the second highest HP. So if PK has 40k, then your stun target needs to be between 41 and 50k. A good target to aim for is 5 to 10% more than PK. I've always done closer to 10 to 15% to have the most success, personally. Stun target's defense should be as low as possible. So that means HP boots, HP chest, HP gloves, HP accessories. Try not to get defense in it. Try not to get defense rolls. Not a defense set, lol kek. Not a resilience set, kek lol. Okay? When facing affinities, the stun target ideally should be weak affinity. So versus magic, have a spirit one. This is what I was talking about. Or otherwise, there should be no weak affinity champions on the team. Okay? So avoid having a weak affinity DPS, basically, is what they're saying. This is what I was talking about before. Avoid having a strong affinity stun target. It's just not worth it. Couldn't agree more. It won't happen. It's not going to be easy. Okay? So example, HP and defense tuning. Aim for like 1k defense and 35 to 40k HP on the stun target, and at least 2k defense and 30 to 35k HP on the rest. Painkeeper should have second highest on the team. So you saw when I put this in, that's basically where we got to. So even if we had, something like this, this will be fine. Getting 1,000 defense ain't easy. It's going to be closer to 1,300. 1,250. See what I mean? So you just have to play around with this to get yourself into the tune. And the way that it works is you have a specific rotation that you follow. So on UNM, for example, you start the fight with Maneater doing his A3, and then it doesn't matter what he does for the rest. Painkeeper has to do her A1, then her A2, then her A1 again, and then she can go full auto. And that's it. It'll work for all affinities. Just like that. So it is a little bit of legwork. It is a little bit of trial and error. There is some testing that needs to go down. And yeah, your stun target can fully be a DPS champion or just somebody that just takes the stun. It doesn't matter. It's not like they have to have some sort of a benefit of being said stun target, right? So Bulwark is used as a popular stun target because he's void, and you could work around that. And because of this. But literally anybody can be a stun target. I've seen people use Frozen Banshee as a stun target. Close your eyes and pick a champion if you want to build them as different off affinity stun targets. It's just you have to have them in the high HP, low defense build with 129 speed. Hopefully this helped. Hopefully this provided you with some insight and some guidance. I am going to be building some of these comps for people on stream, on YouTube, so you can check those out. But that's the base of how this build works.